everything was, that's the downside of them.
Right.
But I knew that you had to, everything was online through Google. Like through Google Docs.
Right.
So I honestly didn't do any research, but I don't know how I knew that. Somebody probably told me.
So in this whole process of initiating this program, do you think anything could have been done differently, or maybe you could have done something to help?
I think the school could have been more transparent.
Okay.
This doesn't go like my name saying that, right? This is, right? Because this stays anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No one's going to hear this again.
Yeah. Because I think what happened, to be honest with you, was we don't have a very good administration. Mm-hmm. And they pick and choose based on who, like who's their buddy. And so it wasn't really, it didn't seem like, because we had to really ask, like, to get one in special ed. Shouldn't have had to. So I think that it should have been implemented more diplomatically, should we say, or more with more equity and more transparency. Because like I told you, that's how I didn't even know about it till I heard other people, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that I knew that and bothered other people too. Mm-hmm. Definitely. We talked about it. But yeah, I think it should have been done with transparency. Like we should have had at one of our department meetings talk about the fact that there's Chromebooks and we're going to get Chromebooks. Mm-hmm. Here's how we're going to do it. You know what I mean? This is how we're going to start. This is how it's going to be. But we had no idea.
Okay. So I'm going to switch gears now to kind of, so you have these in your classroom. Whatever plan is implemented, were you given any type of supports or, trainings for you using the Chromebooks?
No. But our IT people at the school are awesome. So if I have any questions, I always knew I could call them. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't because the school said it. That's because I know them, and anytime I need to get a computer fixed, they're awesome.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I know, like, we just had to get a couple of the Chromebooks fixed. And I just knew to call to put in a work order for them. But there was no formal training like, hey, this is what Chromebooks can do. Mm-hmm. Not that I remember. No, because most of our trainings might be like, okay, we're rolling out Canvas. Do you want to be trained in Canvas? But that's not a Chromebook. Right. You can do it on a Chromebook, but that's not a Chromebook.
Sure.
So I don't ever remember getting anything saying. I didn't even know what a Chromebook was at first. What's a Chromebook? Mm-hmm. Honestly. And then I found out, oh yeah, you could go on Google Docs and they could do everything. Okay, awesome, that's perfect. The downside is it uses the internet at times.
Sure.
But that's pretty much what I knew. I thought, okay, well, if I can use a computer and I can use a tablet, I can use a Chromebook.
Sure.
Oh, and I was told they don't print. I was like, okay, that's fine, as long as they can do all the work. I have a student computer, so we're good.
Okay, so no support, but so aside from the fact, do you think did you have any major concerns with having the set of Chromebooks? You had the set of Chromebooks in your class?
No, because I knew the technology. I mean, I knew if I really had a question, I could call our IT people and they would come and help. They're awesome. So that's why I wasn't concerned at all. I was actually really excited to have them.
Okay, so I'm going to switch to your answers are great. So moving forward towards kind of the outcomes, like why are these in the classroom in the first place? Well, how would you think that the overall, just having Chromebooks in your classroom, how is that going? Is that helping with your teaching? Is that
yeah.
In what way?
Yeah. So one, I think that it's forced the kids to use their emails, which they weren't doing. Not my students, right? Because I've already told you, like a lot of them.
Right, you have a different population.
Honestly, on average, 50% fail in special ed class. This year, it's even worse. Hardest class I've ever had in 11 years. But if you think about that, that's really high failure rate. Mm-hmm. But that's actually pretty true across the other English classes and special ed.
Sure.
So the thing is, kids that have are sort of so used to failing, they've sort of kind of checked out of school or given up on school, and so they weren't even checking emails. They wouldn't even remember their passwords, and you need that to function in life today, right? So from that standpoint, because they have to get into Google Docs all the time, they all can get in and use their emails now. So that's been a huge. It's preparing them for. Most of them will not go to college. They absolutely do not have the skills or the grades. Even to community college, you don't need the grades, but you still have to have some skills.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of them are reading and writing so far below grade level that for a lot of them, they're going to go to work, and so I feel that just using that technology. A lot of them don't know how to type, but now they're typing better. Even if I'm not giving them a typing class, but they figure out how, just because they're on it so much. So if they didn't have that exposure, we haven't even prepared them for the world.
Sure.
So I definitely think supplement teaching. I use Google Classroom a lot. And that's just the kids have had to learn how to go into Google Classroom, to open the document, to type on the document, to submit the document.
Sure.
So I feel that those are really important skills in the world today. Yeah. And also they can, I mean, they don't always do it, but they also can use things like spell check and things like that to help improve their writing.
So, having them, a lot of benefits, obviously. Would you say that those benefits matched your outcomes, what you thought you'd get out of this, or is there anything else that maybe you thought you'd get from having the Chromebooks in class that didn't happen?
Okay, so yeah, I think for the most part, I would say yes, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. We use them almost daily. Here's the downside of the Chromebooks, and it's not a downside of the Chromebook. It's the downside of so many kids who are failing and then having access to something like a Chromebook is, instead of doing their work there, I have to they get on things like YouTube and stuff.
Sure.
And we have to monitor that and, take Chromebooks away sometimes.
Sure.
And I think that's because of the kids that I'm teaching that are struggling and already failing.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like, well, why would I bother? I'm already failing.
Sure.
But I think that overall the outcomes have been pretty good when you think about, you know what I mean? When I think about their levels and the difficulty, a lot of them have very, very difficult home lives. So I feel like at least it's exposed them to something that they're not getting at home. A lot of them have no computers, no internet. Right. So at least it's an exposure to
Sure.
them. I think that in itself is huge.
And how has having the Chromebooks affected you?
Well, so then, having them in my classroom means I know I can use them anytime. I know I can say to kids, "Yep, Chromebooks today." You know what I mean? I don't have to share. I don't have to do anything. And so, like I said, a lot of the work is done on Google Classroom. Or like the kids had to do a big PowerPoint for Huck Finn. So having my own set lets me have that freedom, because and the other kids had to do a big project on a house on Mango Street. So that was it was PowerPoint and a lot of writing. And so not little, like it was done in PowerPoint style, but it was really basically, using textual evidence and all of that stuff.
Sure.
And so having those Chromebook, I couldn't have done it. There's no way I could take my kids 2 weeks straight to a computer lab. I mean, first I would never have been able to get it for all for my classes. And then you constantly are being disrupted, right? And for them, that makes learning so confusing. So it was great because I never had to worry about. I knew I could do it this way because the access to the Chromebook is guaranteed. The only downside, unless the internet's down. And then, I did have them start handwriting it before they got on the Chromebook. That's how I counteracted being on the.
Sure.